Hola clase, ¿cómo están? Espero que todo esté bien hoy. Yesterday we talked about 10 facts that you need to know about a dictionary, and today we're actually going to put our dictionaries to use, and we are going to learn how to use our dictionary in an efficient way. So you should have a handout, a double-sided handout from the sub. If you do not, please pause the video and make sure you pass that out now. The first part of your handout looks like this, okay? And I'm not going to insult you by reading this to you. You guys can read it yourself. But the essential thing I want you to look at is this part right here about a good bilingual dictionary. Now, a good bilingual dictionary, as it says, will have a good amount of information for each word that is included there, okay? But like we talked about yesterday, sometimes there are many, many options for the same word. So, for example, we've got another set of words that we would use to translate to get in English. So we've got Mary got a scholarship, she obtained one. He got a good grade, sacó buena nota. He got a good job, consiguió un buen trabajo. So again, we've got all of these different translations, and all of these would be listed as choices under the entry of get in the dictionary. Bilingual dictionaries will also offer information about pronunciation and parts of speech, and that's what we're going to talk about today, the parts of speech. Okay. Again, here's another example of a similar word that could have many translations, okay? Now right here it says the common tendency is to pick the first word you find in a dictionary when you need to look up a word. However, before you pick the word, you need to look at the entire range of contexts or parts of speech you are working with. Now they chose the word swallow, so we're going to go with our word swallow here, and we're going to look at how these are different. So if we look at the first example right here, give me a swallow of that milk, dame un trago. That would be your noun, okay? The swallows return to San Juan Capistrano. Okay, that's an animal, which is also a noun. And then we've got swallowed the medicine, él se tragó la medicina. That's going to be your verb, okay? So how do we decide which one of these we want to use to best fit our context? We are going to look at the next column, which is the parts of speech. Okay, now typically a dictionary entry will have this information conveyed in symbols. And where do you find those symbols? At the front of your dictionary in the table of contents, and we talked about that yesterday. Now here is a guide of some of the more common symbols that you will find in pretty much every dictionary. Now please remember that every dictionary is slightly different. So for example, instead of V for verb, you might have like a VT and a VI, which are different types of verbs, but we're not going to go into that today. So if you're looking at your dictionary and you're looking at a dictionary entry and you don't understand these abbreviations, you've got to do one of two things. The first step is to look in your table of contents and look at the abbreviation chart, and if it still doesn't make sense to you, then please come talk to me and I will help you figure out what it is you need to be looking for. Now these are all different parts of speech, and we are very familiar with these for the most part because of our studies of Spanish over the past several years. Just in case you don't have a good grasp on what these are, here's what all of these parts of speech are, okay? So an adjective describes a noun such as pretty or funny. An adverb describes your action. An article is basically your el, la, los, and las, as well as your un and your uno. Okay, a conjunction joins parts of a sentence, so y, pero, porque, things like that. A noun is your person, place, or thing. Your prepositions connect the relationship between a noun and other parts of the sentence, so you could use that as a de, al lado, derecha, all that stuff. Pronouns replace your noun to avoid repetition, so instead of saying ella, you could say le instead. Your verb is your action, like caminar and comer, and of course your reflexive verb, you do the action yourself. If you need to copy down these definitions next to your parts of speech, just pause the video and you can copy it right now. I will also post this video on the Google site, so if you don't want to do it right now, you can do so later. The last thing I want to talk about, besides the parts of speech, okay, is another type of symbol you will encounter in your dictionaries, and that is going to be the regions of the Spanish-speaking world. Now, typically, Spanish-speaking world is divided into several regions, and these are those regions. We've got Mexico, the Andean region, which comprises Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, the Caribbean, which are all of the islands. The Cono Sur is Argentina, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay, which is the southernmost part of South America, and then you have Central America with Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, so on and so forth. Now, the reason that you will have these types of labels in your dictionary is to tell you whether or not that word is used in that country. So for example, there are lots of words that they use in Mexico that they don't use in Chile. Okay, it's the same thing as between the United States version of English and England's version of English, where we say trunk, they call it a boot. Okay, so we've got those different meanings. You also have up here ESP stands for España, LA stands for Latin America. So these are going to be the big abbreviations that's going to tell you what part of the world that particular word is said in the most. Okay, these right here, along with the ESP and the Latin America, you will need to know what those mean for your quiz on Friday. The same goes for the parts of speech symbols. You need to know what the ADV stands for, the PRE, so on, PREP, so on and so forth. So you will have to do a little bit of memorizing this week. Now, if we flip it over to the other side of your paper, these are going to be some different activities, and I wanted to take this time to explain to you what we're doing here. In part A, we need to look at the definition here of the word being and try to figure out, okay, well, what can you tell from the English equivalents about the word below? Okay, what can we tell based on this example? What are we seeing? What are we learning about these different versions of the word being? For part B, we're going to think about the various uses of the word fly in English, and what I'd like you to do is match the definition below in this gray box to the sentence up here. It is going to be a little tricky. I know that the copy is kind of unclear. Do the best that you can, okay? The last section, I'd like you to look up the following words in your Spanish-English dictionary that you have, and I want you to pay special attention to the symbols next to it. So what I'd like you to do is then find the best word in Spanish that corresponds to each. If we look at number 1 here, it says bolt and there's a little V next to it. If we look at our parts of speech symbols on the other side of this paper, we can then see that the V stands for verb. So we want the verb version of bolt. We do not want the noun version like a bolt on a door. So you've got the rest of the hour here to work on parts A, B, and C. Once you finish the parts of speech and dictionary practice, you are going to receive some present tense practice as well. Okay, so I will give you, or actually the sub will be giving you some filled in notes as a refresher on the present tense, and you will have some activities that you will check tomorrow with the sub. Please remember that your paragraph about your vacaciones ideales is due tomorrow on Wednesday, so make sure that you have that. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we will be working again with our dictionary and we will be practicing our present tense, and I will also get you a study guide for your dictionary quiz on Friday. Have a great day y hasta luego, chicos.